We're not on the radio.
If you've been to a great gig, send us your pics. introhw@bbc.co.uk.
BBC introducing in Hereford and Worcester.
Our Worcester filmmakers series looking at music production in the county comes to a close this week. Jim Lowe's production of On the Record documents what life's like on the road for our local industry professionals. In the last of his current series, Jim talks to Paul Bob Jones, the man behind the Blues Nights in Worcester, who describes how he got into music.
You weren't a Ted because you weren't old enough. You weren't a rocker because you weren't hard enough. But we just did not enjoy any of the music that was coming out of our own country in those days. But then the blues ruined me, because I kept reading how John Lee Hooker and Robert Johnson and people like that would all just play notes. They didn't bother with chords. Muddy Waters, he'd run a slide across his strings like quite a lot of the others did. And I thought, man, this is the way I want to go. I'm going to learn the street way. So I spent 3 years listening to the records, duplicating what I heard, magnificently and scornfully eschewing the actual chord shapes. The last thing I was going to do was learn music.
Going to the Boston Tea Party, going to the party. Going to the Boston Tea Party, going to the party.
Alex Harvey was on in Mothers in Erdington. My mate started nudging me because I was sitting there going, whoa, whoa. I thought he meant I should stop, but then Alex Harvey, who was, he was the one doing the gesticulating, he got me up on stage, and I played a couple, I think 3 with him.
You mentioned the Beatles a lot. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned the Stones, because I would have thought they would have been bigger.
Well, I was always very contemptuous of Mick's singing. He was a great harmonica, Mick. They were on with Little Richard, Bo Diddley, I think the Everly Brothers as well. We got quite friendly with 2 or 3 of the Stones. Brian, in particular, surprised me. I got a call from Alan Stinson, a journalist on the Record Mirror in those days. He needed me to bring a record player and some records because they didn't have one. I had huge radiograms, so I said, yeah, OK. And of course I had to admit that it wasn't my record player we were going to take. I took a bundle of records. We had to go up to Bo's house. And Bo's record player wasn't working, so we had to pick up Bo and his brother. Then we went round to Dennis's and we got his record player.
We're going to a party with the Rolling Stones. Has anybody got a working record player?
I tell you what. And Brian said to me, you know, our harmonica player knows every single solo in every single Jimmy Reed record. And I thought, hang on, what do you mean our harmonica player? I thought you were our harmonica player. But Brian always thought it was his band, as you now know. But in those days, it came as something of a revelation to me. I had no idea that he thought it was his band. Three of them walked home with us anyway. Mick was out of it right the way through. He was lying down with his face in his girlfriend's lap. He was completely out. Mick offended me. The fact that he'd got the ideal band, the band that I really deserved. He was the only pop singer who was doing that stuff, who couldn't sing as well as I could. I started talking about Steve Winwood, whom no one knew yet in those days. Steve Winwood and his gang, the Spencer Davis gang, they opened the first rhythm and blues club in Birmingham in early '63. So I talked about this fellow, what a genius he was, and I said to Brian, you need to kick your singer out, he's no good. And he was quite interested in this, and he asked me to take him up to the Golden Eagle at the top of Hill Street. We were going to meet them, but it never happened.
Keep on running. Keep on hiding. One fine day.
When the Spencer Davis band left Birmingham and started working in London, whenever they came back to Birmingham to play, they would always ask for us to be their support band. We were good enough, but we were nowhere near as good as they were.
Well, Bob concludes with something of a revelation.
When I heard Robert Plant, he was about 17. This was somewhat before he stole the name of my band and used it for his own. I just couldn't believe how great he was. He could reach all of those notes that I couldn't.
What a story. And it's all online. Don't forget, you can follow the links from our website, bbc.co.uk/Hereford and Worcester/introducing. It's an independent production put together by Jim Lowe from Worcester. And that concludes the last in our current series of On The Record.
Unsigned, undiscovered, and under the radar music.
Send your MySpace, Reverb Nation or Facebook page to us. Intro HW at bbc.co.uk.